The Sopranos is full of complex relationships, like between Tony and Adriana, for example. In this video, I'm going to talk about that pivotal moment in their relationship and how it relates to the larger narrative of the show.
Oh yeah, like Tony Soprano's hiding in my backseat.
Adriana starts out seeming to be pretty carefree when it came to Tony, but as we get further into the series, Tony becomes much less of a joke and much more of a potential threat to Adriana's well-being. But not because Tony wants to go after Aid, but rather because the FBI is going after Tony. Adriana's frustrated.
What am I doing? I can't talk to you. I can't even talk to Christopher, and he's my soulmate, for God's sake. I can't talk to my friends.
She's feeling disillusioned. She feels distant from Christopher.
I am being, ripped apart here.
And her vulnerability is at its peak here. She's emotionally yearning for a connection and validation and continues to feel more guilt each and every day. Tony has always liked Adriana.
We were just discussing Anna's wedding.
She might get a double wedding.
First someone has to propose.
He calls Christopher out in D-Girl and stands up for Aid when Christopher tries to make it like she's just being moody.
I'm on a rake. She's just wondering who the fuck you are.
And Tony also reminds Christopher in season 4 that he's lucky to have Adriana and he shouldn't screw things up with her, possible pregnancy complications or not.
She's a great girl, Christopher. You don't want to lose this one.
What happened?
Your nephew.
I already packed a suitcase for my aunts in Daytona.
Take it easy. Don't do something you're gonna regret.
Maybe she should have gone to Daytona when she had the chance. Adriana's never had a problem with Tony personally, though from time to time she does ask Christopher if he would rather do something else with his life. And the further we get in the series, the more vocal she is about Christopher's status.
I'm low man tonight. I gotta pay for everybody.
Once Adriana gets picked up by the FBI in early season 4, Tony increasingly becomes a constant thought in her mind, as the FBI's main goal in all of this is to use her to get information on Tony.
Oh. An FBI informant.
And then we get to season 5. Tony and Carmela are separated. Tony and Dr. Melfi are also currently separated.
You don't wish us to be social friends, and so that is that.
So as a reminder, we're at the episode right before Regular Around the Margins, and Tony also hasn't been seeing Dr. Melfi. So that's one less woman, one less person he's been able to talk to, who's been there to listen. He misses that. Adriana is increasingly feeling the weight of the FBI, pressuring her to get some good information they can use in the case they're building against Tony.
Robin,
What?
how much longer am I gonna have to keep doing this?
Major RICO against Tony Soprano? Those things take years to build. This recent case against Joe Messino in New York, that was 7 years before indictments were handed down.
Did Tony plan this? Did Adriana plan this? What would have happened if it had actually happened? Christopher at one point accuses Tony of sending him to North Carolina so he can get with Adriana. It's one of those things where logistically this was something that Christopher had to do for business, but it's like a few other situations on the show where you're like, it's oddly convenient timing that benefits Tony in some way. I guess sometimes you get lucky, or sometimes it's more than luck. Nobody knows anything really.
How you feeling? Everything all right in here now? Your stomach all right?
Let me see what I can do.
Oh, you sure? You over your stomach ache? Oh!
Yes. Did I get your toe?
No.
I think I dropped something on the floor that I need to pick up. So you bend and snap.
Tony's dealing with his own issues, including his marital troubles and the ongoing pressures of being the boss of the family. His physical and emotional distance from Carmela and this feeling of isolation, even if he doesn't show it, makes him prone to seek solace in people who offer him emotional comfort, like Adriana. She was someone who was there to listen.
Got a long struggle ahead of him, that's for sure. Doctors, rehab, physical therapy.
I think I'm gonna have the medallions of you.
Maybe I call you But I don't think so.
You didn't like it?
I like it very much. But Tony, come on. You're a nice guy, but I got my own problems. I don't want to all the time prop you up.
She also complimented him. She made him feel good.
He's such a good father.
I think Dr. Melfi really hits the nail on the head when she says it would be like an act of symbolic incest.
So Thanksgiving, who's all coming this year?
You know, the usual. Chris and Aid.
It's not Tony being with a younger girl. I mean, that's pretty standard. But it's because of who she is. How weird that would be. Like, even for Tony's kids. While Tony offers her a drink, Adriana is the one who initiates the let's find some coke situation here. Though she tries to rationalize it by saying maybe she can clean the house before Christopher gets home. Why do I feel like that's not the number one thing on her mind when she says she's in the mood for coke at that moment? Or I don't know, bird watching perhaps. While Tony and Aid may have kept their close encounter during a game of darts on the down low, this crash and hospital visit, not so much. And Christopher's so furious when he finds out about it that he almost ends up getting himself killed over it. But then all becomes well in paradise again, right?
And my nephew, it would kill him.
And you'll kill him too.
That'd be very bad for the girl. She doesn't deserve that.
Her suffering becomes much less of a concern later on this season.
But you don't have Chrissy's cell, do you? He called, but he didn't leave a new number.
When Aid asks Tony here if he has Chrissy's number, it feels like a reminder of her place in their relationship, the whole dynamic, and this question of who Christopher's most devoted to and who really knows what's going on in his life. It kind of reminds me of season 4 when Tony asks Aid at Crazy Horse if Christopher's here, and she says, is he supposed to be?
You want me to call him?
We're gonna sit down. So, Carmen and me, getting back together, maybe.
That's great. The kids will be thrilled.
Yeah. When we get settled, we'll have you guys over. Family dinner.
This last moment where they see each other in person, it's like they both acknowledge that neither of them have really gotten a chance to process all the stuff that happened. But I feel like the way that they look at each other, their body language, it's not the way that it was before.
I'll see you up there.
Now, what do you think would have happened if the government hadn't pressured Adriana so much in long-term parking to the point where she had to confess to Christopher? What would have become of Tony and Adriana's relationship moving forward? What about after Adriana's gone?
Sally boy, the boss?
The thing with Adriana?
We know Tony has encountered dead people in his dreams, and even possibly has ghosts in his waking life. What about Adriana? Well, we know Adriana certainly comes to mind when she's brought up by Christopher or Carmela, and they're pretty explicit about it. And not only does Christopher remind Tony about what he did for him by giving up Adriana, we also see it on the big screen. And by we, I mean everyone. Their names may not have been Tony and Adriana, but it didn't take long for some folks to catch on, like Rosalie and Carmela. There's more that could be said, but for now, I'll close out with, family is complicated, just like most other things, especially on The Sopranos. Thanks for watching. What do you think about Tony and Adriana's relationship? I'd love to hear from you. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.